Hello and welcome back to Bootstrap for Cash. This is Iván Peña, and on the other side I have Giorgio and Iván.
Hello, hi there.
Today we are going to talk about two different topics. There will be less technical than last week. We realized that last week we talked about AI concepts, and those are a bit technical, and it might be that our non-IT listeners didn't understand much. Hopefully they did, but this week we are going to discuss more general topics that can interest too many people, especially the ones that are starting in entrepreneurship, because professional entrepreneurs, they know already about them. And those two topics are: how is it to live without a salary, especially in a country like Switzerland, which is crazily expensive? And the second is why we don't want to go back to corporate. So let's start with the first one. Giorgio, what do you think? How do you feel? I mean, we have been working already or living without a salary since last year, mid of last year, probably, right?
About that time, yes. I guess it's 6 months now, slightly more than that.
And we mentioned already that we got an exit from our last startup, but when you say
it was not
exit...
that kind of exit.
Exactly. When you say the word exit, many people think about millions. And here we are talking about cents.
Unfortunately, I think I made more money in the stock market than with this exit.
And consulting also gave me more money. But anyway,
yeah, exactly.
Still something. But yeah,
so
we cannot retire, at least not yet. So how is it living for months already, almost a year, without a salary?
Yeah, so as we said, we are not that kind of lucky bastards so that we can just retire. But I guess the thing for us has been we've always been quite diligent, I'd say, both of us. Well, Iván even more so than myself. So
I'm an expert.
We could say that when we were privileged enough to have good paying jobs, well, we were not splurging, so we were not...
we were frugal.
We were quite frugal, which also helps being even more frugal then when the income stops, when you no longer have money flowing in. But at the same time, at least for me, it's been about, yes, cutting down some additional expense. So maybe, of course, you eat out a bit less. You can cut down on some expenses, obviously, but in a way, I'd say I'm quite happy that I was frugal before, so I can just keep doing the same, and I have an idea of how much runway I have. I have a budget. I know how much I'm spending, so I can keep an eye on it. Obviously, the psychological effect is different. I mean, looking at the end of the month, looking at that number going down instead of going up,
which was the case in the past most of the time, right?
Exactly. That's the thing, right? I was being frugal for the rest of my career. Since I started my career, being frugal meant watching my bank account go up, plus my portfolio, right? So also the investments going up. Now it's a funny time, actually. Also, the portfolio is going down. So I try not to look at that. I don't open the investment portfolio. That's what we always thought, right? Don't look at it. Not the best time right now.
But you were smart enough to invest in Nvidia before all the going up, all the bull market, and also Cloudflare. Although both of them were already crazily expensive back then.
Yeah,
they are now even more.
Yeah, we should go back to Cloudflare then. It's also our provider now. But yeah, Nvidia, I was smart enough to buy pretty early before the AI stuff. I think it was clear where they were going with CUDA and everything. But yeah, as we said, this is not the technical podcast to go into that. But I was also stupid enough to sell, and they were high. I still got a good return, but I should have waited. So yeah, I guess this is pretty much it for me. And how about you? How is going from super frugal to even more frugal going for you?
I think I'm not more frugal, to be honest. I think I'm more or less the same. My whole life has been like that, right? It's kind of like a skill. I don't know if it's a natural skill or I learned about it as a kid. I have no idea. But it comes naturally to me. The problem is that I was not so lucky as you with the stock market because I decided at some point to invest in small caps, and they have been penalized for years already, although they have more potential to grow. At least that's the theory. And they have good businesses. I mean, it's not that they're going bankrupt or something like that. They are good businesses, but still they're penalized in the stock market. So they are not getting higher. So yeah, I was not so lucky and I decided not to invest in big caps like you did. And that was my mistake. But I feel confident that at some point this will change. Let's see if I don't die poor because of this decision. But yeah, it's quite hard to see every month how the money is going down when, yeah, we were used the whole life to see it going up, right? So yeah, this is kind of the first time that this is happening. And it's also hard, and this connects to the second topic, to hear from many people, even close people to you, this maybe you heard this sentence already, like find a proper job or find a real job. It's like, I'm working my ass off here. I'm probably working more than you. I mean, it's probably, I'm 90% sure that I'm working more than most of the people that I surrounded with, because we are working weekdays, we are working weekends, we are working nights. So yeah, it's really hard to hear from people that are working in corporate. And I have nothing against people working in corporate, right? I mean, I was working in corporate for many years already, so I would be shooting myself on the foot, right? But this opinion of find a proper job, like meaning, I guess they mean find something with security. I don't know. It's kind of hurtful because yeah, it's many people don't trust what you are doing because it doesn't bring any money. But it's how it works, right? I mean, if you want to create your own business and get money right away, probably consulting is an option. If you have customers, obviously, if you need to look for them, it's going to be harder. But if you have already customers, like it was my case when I was doing freelancing, yeah, I was getting money like minute one already. I was producing. But this is not what we are trying to do here, right?
It's a different kind of business, yes.
Exactly. So we are trying to build products and position them in the market, if there is a market at all. So it's much harder. First, because, yeah, we are coders, so we are IT. We worked many years on consulting, but that doesn't mean that we are sales. We never had to sell anything, right? Maybe ourselves. But I personally never sold myself. It was more my work selling myself, right? So it was not me being the sales selling myself. I don't know if that makes any sense. But you know what I mean, right?
Yeah.
So this is the first time that we are doing the whole thing, the full range of things. So we are basically selling, we are doing marketing, or I mean, if colleague Anastasia would hear me saying we do marketing, she would probably kill me. We try to do marketing.
This is our marketing.
This is our marketing. We are doing a podcast, so this is our marketing. And we are doing all those stuff, and at the same time, we are going to events. We went to Qatar. That was crazy. And at the same time, we have to code the products. And this last week was already quite hard, right? We didn't have any time to do anything apart from just coding. The good things, guys, good news, we launched already unit text officially today. So Google decided, that was funny, actually. So we have a Chrome extension, and Google, they need to approve whatever extension that you create in their web store. They need to approve it first. and it takes some time. It could even take weeks. So today in the morning, we didn't have it approved yet. And then we finished the coding and all that. So I started doing again distribution. So I started posting about the last episode of the podcast and so on. And then in the post on LinkedIn, I tagged Google saying, and when Google gives us green light, then we will be able to launch our extension to the web store. And then for some reason, I really hope that nobody at Google read that. Well, I hope so, but probably was not the case. But for some reason, after half an hour of my post going live on LinkedIn, the extension was approved. So yeah, we are officially live.
We want to believe.
Yeah. So the next week is going to be basically us trying to position the product in the market. Hopefully we will manage to get some traction. We already have some users. Some of them sound like more bots, but still users. But yeah, we feel hopeful here.
I think we have a bit of a plan, at least. We need to come up with a real plan for distribution.
Yes.
We saw some interest. I think we really believe there is something there with unit text. This idea of not letting AI completely take over all the creative work of humans I think it resonates with many. So we have seen that quite a bit. So unit text with this idea of, yes, using AI, but as a tool, as an extension of the creative process, not completely replacing the human, the writer. We believe that there are many who would like it. So yeah, this week is very much about that, right? We want to reach out to many authors, writers, do this in many different ways and for different industries. So yeah, that's the tough part about it, right? As you said, this is not just a job. It's 4 or 5.
It's 5 different jobs at the same time. Yeah. But the good thing is that we are together in this. Many people do this alone, right?
I don't know how they do that.
From here, our full respect to the solo founders. You really have all our respect because this is already hard in every way, but mentally is crazy. The toll that takes on you mentally is very strong. So in the last days, I was working every day for, I don't know how many hours, probably 12 or even more. I don't know. And I couldn't go to do sports. I couldn't do anything apart from just coding. My girlfriend was telling me, maybe this is not that healthy. I know that, but this needs to go live as soon as possible. And I was feeling already the toll, right? Today I managed finally to go back to CrossFit. So I feel much better now.
Well, at least I'd say being the two of us, and we can motivate each other. Also struggle together because we both are struggling. We both are maybe working on different pieces of the same product and struggling in different ways. But having someone else going through the same and discussing and motivating each other I feel like it's the only way to go. I really
at least
struggle
for us
to imagine. Yeah, I find it really hard to imagine how I could do it on my own. I don't think I could. It's just there is so much more than the technical aspect alone. Obviously, there is so much more going on, and it really takes to go through all this.
So let's go to the second topic then. So if everything is so hard, if everything is such a nightmare, and you were quite well paid working in corporate, because actually, to be fair, we had good salaries. So now I'm going to put myself in the position of my father when he talks to me saying, "Are you an idiot?" And I'm going to ask you, why in the hell, Giorgio, aren't you not going back to corporate? Are you an idiot? So this is what. Okay, my father is not saying an idiot, or maybe he does, but in a nice way, right? He's laughing at the same time.
He thinks it, but
he just thinks about it.
Am I? Probably. the thing is, as we said, like, having those jobs meant we were lucky enough, privileged enough to get a chance to do this. And I guess it's two things really. One is, if I didn't do it, I would regret it. And with that, I mean, I tried before to start a project of my own in the past. I tried before to launch something, to sell something. But looking at it now, one of the main mistakes I did back then was not being all in. I really wasn't all in. It was indeed a side project. So I still had my job. I still had my full-time job. And I wasn't all in. And actually, it's one of those things. Of course, when you look at things in hindsight, it's easy. It's so easy when you look back at the past, and still you can make so many assumptions. So I can't say for sure that it could have been different. And yet I really believe that project, had I been all in, had I been doing that full time at that point, it would be in a very different. I would be in a very different position today. That project would have been in a very different position today. For very concrete reasons, like AI exploded now, investments in AI exploded, and we were doing that before it was cool, before it was the hip thing. The project had real value, users loved it. There were so many things we were doing right. There were other things we were doing wrong, as around distribution and sales, and many things we were doing wrong, definitely. But one of the biggest mistakes we did back then, I think, was not being all in. And as I said, I think if I didn't do it now, I would regret it. In a way, I feel like we had this chance right now. There are many things that need to go hand in hand. I think it's about the personal situation, like our families, where we are with our families, where we are, like each other, that we could both commit at this point. That we have as we said, we have a runway, we have a safety net. So there are a mix of things that obviously pieces that need to fall in the right place to make this happen. And if it wasn't now, I wouldn't know when would have been a good time. And
there is never a good time, right?
There never is, right? Time always goes on, and so many things happening anyway that it's never going to be a better time. And the other thing I have to say, it's the best time I've had in my career.
Yeah, likewise.
With all the struggles, we're
really a couple of masochists.
Yeah, it's really tough, but it's nice. It's fun.
And everything you learn as well. So we learn, even if we go back to corporate or something else, I don't know, we can reuse everything we learned so far in these months. We can reuse it for sure in the future, right? Even if we go back to corporate, we can keep doing the podcast just for fun. To keep alive something that we had during our entrepreneurial time, right? Let's see, maybe we won't do it. But
it would be part of the story, so it would be nice to tell that part too, actually. But who knows? Yeah, of course, it's really hard to say. And I mean, even to everyone just saying, yeah, just do a normal thing, just get a real job. I mean,
what does it mean real? Because every real job, quote unquote, it was started by someone from scratch, right? So without people doing things without a salary, you couldn't have these real jobs, again, quote unquote.
Yeah, exactly. And things change also. I feel like we're at a crossroads also with everything that's happening in the world, and even some of the common beliefs about this normal job, real jobs. I feel like so much is going to happen, so much is going to change again now with AI, and again everything that's happening with our economies. Really, there is a need for this as well. There is a need to experiment. There is a need to try out new things. that's the point, right? Even those real jobs, they don't exist if somebody doesn't go and figure out new things. At some point, you need to start somewhere. So in that regard, I'm not really bothered by those comments, because I feel like it's just, I guess, if somebody doesn't go through it, it's not really for them. Luckily, not everyone is as crazy as us, actually. Doing what we are doing. I guess it's not for everyone. I guess it's natural. It's also natural that it is so.
So referring to the topic you were mentioning, so how the economy is evolving or where it's going towards, there is a concept that many people will know probably, like universal basic income. I don't want to touch it because it can get quite political, and I don't want that.
As long as we don't get banned.
Exactly, that's another thing, right? It's like, this is like saying COVID. Suddenly Spotify bans you. I hope they don't. Maybe I should cut this part too. But yeah, so I don't want to focus on what it means, but more the discussion about it. So it seems that many people are proposing this idea, but what I want to discuss is, if they're proposing it, is because it seems that we really see that machines will take over our jobs at some point, although this already kind of happened in the Industrial Revolution. But again, at the end, you evolve, find another job, or we create new jobs, and then you just adapt, right? It was always like that. So let's assume that this is the worst case scenario, or worst case. I wouldn't say worst, but you know what I mean. Let's assume that really machines can do everything and we don't have to do anything else because they can do it for us. What would be the best approach? For me, if this happens, I would have enough time to do whatever I want. And the idea of doing what I'm doing now is to, at some point, hopefully we are lucky and we can sell a product or something for a big amount that makes us be more free, so not dependent on a job. And at the end, what I will do if that happens is to do what I'm doing right now, right? Maybe not the podcast, but you know what I mean, right? So if this happens, you will have two options. So let's assume that this happens and you have a universal basic income, which is enough for you to survive every month. I think it's not going to be like that, but let's assume it happens like that. You have two choices. Either you do something, I don't want to say productive with your life, but more like, traveling could be also something productive for your life if it brings you joy or positive things. I think traveling can bring you a lot of positivity. Or you can just do nothing. I think I personally will do what I'm basically doing right now. I don't know with what exactly, maybe new technology. I don't know what will happen in the future if machines will take over. But I'm probably going to try to do something.
Yeah. No, definitely, because if you think about it, fundamentally what we are doing, or why we are doing what we are doing, we try to solve people's problems, which sounds kind of stereotypical. Like you would say, oh, of course, what should automation do? What should IT do? And it may sound stereotypical, but it often isn't. There are so many bad systems out there that are not generally solving anyone's problem. Sometimes they're creating new problems of their own. Sometimes they're doing somebody's interest, but definitely not solving a concrete problem. But when you're actually helping somebody out, when you're building something that helps somebody out in whatever way, and the way that we know about is by making technology products, the excitement that you get, the look on their faces when you show them and say, oh yeah, this is exactly what I needed.
Mm-hmm.
I would still seek that, because that fundamentally that's what we do.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we build what we build. We are just problem solvers at heart. So when we see somebody having an issue and we figure out we can solve it with technology, that's what we do. And as you say, if we get to that point in the future, probably technology would also have evolved and we'd have to learn new things. And it's on many levels, right? We get to learn new technologies, we get to learn of new ways to solve people's problems, things that we could not solve before. Now we can. And we already seen it a bit with AI already, even though it's clear that this is just the initial stages. But that's already what we're doing. So we see a new technology, we see that it can be applied to existing problems, and things that we could not solve before. Now we can solve them. And this technology is only going to get better, and we can solve even more problems. I think we would just keep doing it. And in the end, it's not about technology for the sake of technology. Of course, we like to learn about it, so we like to experiment, so we get to do that. It's not just about the money either, as we say. If we had any way to sustain ourselves, and just think about problems, well, there could be even so many more things that we could do. In fact,
and that's actually our goal, right? Short term, the idea is to, if you remember the discussion we had at the beginning when we started like months ago, we had a huge backlog of different ideas we had. Some of them were really a huge thing and something you cannot just build in a couple of weeks. And we said, let's prioritize the small things that can bring us cash as soon as possible. So once we have the cash flowing in, then we can focus more on the big stuff, because that's the interesting thing, right? So the strategy, at least for us, is we need one product that brings the cash in, and then we can sustain ourselves. And then we remove of the equation the survival point. If I don't manage, I need to do something different.
Yeah.
But at the same time, and this is the thought just came to my mind, if we lose the survival thing, which is probably the one that is boosting us every day to work so many hours on something, do you think this will change? So once we have a salary, a stable salary going in, and we can sustain ourselves, do you think the next product we work on is going to be the same? Are we going to work the same way, the same intensity? Hopefully not, because then my girlfriend will kill me.
Yeah. I think, yeah, a few things would change. Obviously. We would not have the same motivation to pick up. I mean, I have a very concrete example in mind. There was a product we wanted to work on before everything we're doing now. And it was all about financial education, financial literacy. There was a real problem. There is a real problem to be solved.
A huge
in
one.
that case. It's a huge one. But to do such a product is expensive. As we said, it's one of those products that takes a long time to put that together. It takes quite a bit of effort to maintain, as there is data involved and you need to keep it well organized, and there is many layers of complexity in that product, in that idea. And so we realized at some point that there were no resources to work on it. We're very passionate about it, but we just realized that if we followed that, there was no way, at least not in a reasonable time frame, and not with any means that we could come up with to make it profitable and sustain ourselves. You see, for example, in that case, there was a very clear problem to solve, but at some point we had to drop it. We had to say, no, we cannot.
We couldn't find a profitable way to sustain it. Everybody agree with us that there is a problem, and it's huge. So the lack of financial literacy and education is huge in the world. The problem was that everybody agreed with that, with the goal, with the passion, with the purpose, but nobody wanted to pay for it. And that was the big issue, right? And for instance, I'm using this app. It's called How We Feel. And it's a project of an entrepreneur that made quite some millions with another project. I don't know the whole story, but I know that he made a good exit, not like ours. And with the money that he gained, he invested so he could sustain himself. Probably he has other projects as well. But this one is for free, and he did it more like out of passion. And I think it's quite important because the app helps you to express your feelings in a digital way. Some people might think, okay, but that's not the way to go. You should be more open yourself and interact with other people. But sometimes it's really hard. And I think this app helps you to also analyze the kind of feelings you're feeling in every moment. And it's just, I don't know if it's profitable. I don't think so. But I don't know. I don't even know what's the business model, if there is any. But this should be something that humans could do if machines take over. So if you don't have to wake up every morning to go to your usual job anymore, you could do things that are not profitable, but you have a passion for it. Again, then the discussion could be, okay, if it's not profitable, maybe it's not bringing any added value to anyone. I don't think it's 100% like that. I strongly believe that financial literacy is needed. Maybe you just didn't find a way to make it profitable, but still needed. It's a difficult topic. I don't think it's just black or white.
No, yeah, it's a very complex topic, definitely. But if we do make it, yeah, I would like to be that guy. I have to say, I'd like to be that guy. I can just build. Again, I wouldn't want to build things just for the sake of building them. Sometimes it's fun, sure. I mean, sometimes it is, or maybe it's just for learning, right? You want to learn something, then you build something for that. But I feel I'm a bit past that stage. Maybe it was valuable when starting out. Again, as we said, to learn.
Mm-hmm.
But I really enjoy building something just to know that somebody else finds that useful. I would also really love not having to think about making that profitable, but just knowing that somebody finds that valuable, and if I can just build it and it's sustainable in the sense that that don't have to burn out, as you said, right? That it's still healthy to do that, then that would be enough for me. And the motivation will not be lost, because the motivation is not the money. Right now it is, but for a different reason. Right now the motivation is covering basic needs, and to cover basic needs you need money. But still, ultimately what we really want to do is solving problems, and that motivation remains. That's still there. It's just obviously that if you didn't have to do it in order to sustain a business, I think it could be healthier. As in, you don't have to spend all the time, all the wake time you have,
are your savings,
writing code, all your savings, and all the uncertainty and the stress that comes with that. Again, it's this is not to say that I don't know. I mean, this is the world we live in. We understand what it brought us, I would say, the competition and the also weighing like the risk and the benefit that you get out of it. Like if you make it, there is a reward for that risk, and I'd say that that's all very valuable thing that did motivate us a lot, like motivate us as society. We've grown a lot thanks to that. But more and more, I feel like sometimes we are moving towards problems that do not fit in this. They do not fit in this framework. And again, that one of financial literacy bothers me a lot still. I just cannot see an easy way out, because it's such a complex problem and there's no obvious way to tackle it. Education is, in general, I would say it's a very complex problem. Probably we're not the best ones to talk about it. It's just,
especially you're a drop-off. Drop-off or drop-out? No, it's a dropout, right?
Twice. I mean, technically I didn't even finish high school. I just went straight to college.
So in a way, we could conclude this topic by saying, isn't it what makes us humans happier, or what brings us happiness, is to help out other human beings? I mean, and we realize this every time that we get users and they tell us, hey, this tool is cool, it helps me a lot with whatever. This is probably more, it brings you more joy than just the money per se. I mean, money brings you joy with everything you can do with it. But at the end, the real purpose behind everything we do is that other humans tell us, hey, this is cool what you're doing, recognition, right? And it's helping me to do whatever. Is that the case?
I really think it is. I think it's a great way to sum it up, yes.
And now let's discuss what's the new project you're thinking about, Giorgio, already? How do you want to help other humans?
Of course.
So yeah, we just launched one, and now you're already thinking about the next one.
You couldn't even say we launched it, right? Because we still have to cover all the distribution for unit text. So
but it's launched. I mean, it's productive.
Well, it's live. Yeah. We even have users, and we didn't even seek them. Yeah. So we could say we're doing quite well. But we need to do product hunt. We need to get in touch with like all the people in that industry in one way or another and gather their feedback. I think that there is a lot we need to do still with unit text.
That's for next week, Giorgio.
Next week, yeah. Next week is for distribution, definitely.
Tomorrow edition of this episode, publishing on Spotify, and then next week we post it on social media. I will do that part, so you can focus on the next project.
And even with that one, to be honest, I feel like next week is probably going to be the time to talk to some people, to reach out to people. We want to do it right. We believe we have identified another problem, but before we go on and go wild and implement a million features, we should really talk to people and see if there is a market for it. Because again, it would be very nice to go and implement it and have fun and know that it solves a real problem, but we need to make sure that it's sustainable again. So I guess that's what next week is going to be all about.
You guys should be proud of us. We are doing market research before even coding. Well, actually, Giorgio coded already a bit. You cannot help it.
I couldn't stop. I had the idea in mind, and I needed to see it running. No, but in reality, I needed at least that bit of validation to move forward. Which I got, to be honest, with that bit of coding. I genuinely only spent a couple of 2-3 hours. I'm very proud of myself. I didn't waste time on it. I started from my sample from one of the base libraries we were using, Whisper or Whisper CPP. Oh, sorry, this is getting technical.
It's getting technical. I will cut that part, Giorgio.
Well, but I started from an example. Used AI again. Thank you, Cursor. So I really didn't spend much time on it. Basically, it's a rather simple problem, if you like, or at least the solution feels very straightforward to me. So I may or may not have mentioned that in my free time I'm sailing. So I'm studying to be a sailing instructor.
He's frugal. Sailing is really well known for being a low-cost hobby.
Yeah, that's one of the things I'm cutting down on, to be honest. Like I'm not sailing the Mediterranean this summer. I'm sticking to Lake Como, and we are
that's the low-cost plan.
we are a frugal school, you could say. Well, we're very good at keeping costs down. We do. A couple of weeks ago, I was there. We do the maintenance of our boats ourselves, so we keep costs down like that. So I have a license for offshore sailing, and I'm now also doing a course for radio, basically. It's called GMDSS LRC, so long range certification, and it includes a bunch of things about using radios and satellite systems and other communication systems for emergency or any scenario where you need to communicate from a vessel to the shore or to another vessel. Anyway, we are studying for this exam together with the other instructors at my sailing school. There are a couple of problems, let's say. We are studying many topics, and there are a couple of concerns coming also from others. One is the radio procedure in general. So when talking on a radio, you don't do it like we are doing it right now. You don't improvise. You're supposed to know everything you're going to say beforehand. You have to say very specific things in a very specific order. There's a specific way of saying letters and numbers. There is exactly a procedure to follow, and you need to know it by heart the moment you go for this exam, for this certification. And that's one thing you need to practice. Luckily, you don't get the chance to practice it too often when actually on a boat, because it may mean that you're sending a distress call and you're sinking.
Mayday, iceberg on site.
So it would be nice to have a way to practice that. That's one concern. And the other concern I got from many is that this exam, being an international certification, at least part of this exam is in English, and especially the radio procedure is supposed to be in English. Because again, you could be out there, you could either need to send a distress call that's going to be listened to by a foreign station, or you could get a distress call by somebody who is from abroad. So you all these communications need to happen in English. And it's been a concern. I've heard it many times from others. It's one of the top concerns with this exam, that they need to practice English. So I had to jump into this problem-solving mode. I can't help it, thinking about what we do, and again AI and all the stuff that we're doing right now. And as I mentioned before, got some experience also with speech to text. I thought, well, maybe we could simulate that. What we do during the course, where we have people interact with each other, I mean, sure, that's one way, but sometimes when you need to practice, you don't need to do it 2-3 times. You want to do it 20, 30 times, and you cannot go and bother people all the time. Maybe you don't have people for all that time to practice it so much. So I thought a bit about that, and we came up with, let's say, the most basic scenario, which is called a distress call, exactly a mayday, when something really bad is happening, something that is life-threatening. Mayday call is issued, and it may happen that there is nobody there is no radio station listening to that for whatever reason, but there is another vessel listening to that. And if somebody is listening to a mayday call and nobody is acknowledging that, so no radio station is acknowledging that and starting a search and rescue mission, then that vessel needs to relay the call. So you need to issue a mayday relay, which means you take whatever you heard and you pretty much need to say it again, say everything again, plus you need to identify yourself as you relay the call. And so the AI, let's say we've got a couple of AIs. One is impersonating the vessel in distress, doing the mayday call. It generates some distress scenario, something bad is happening, maybe they're sinking, maybe somebody is unwell. Right now, with the correct radio procedure, at some point we could make it more difficult on different levels. Like listening on a VHF radio is horrible. It's shit. the voice is really bad. So we could add that as well at some point. There is noise. You can't really understand everything sometimes.
There are some jokes about that, like English speaker, they are sinking and they're telling the Germans, like, we are sinking. What are you thinking?
What are you thinking about? I saw that one.
So yeah, our product wants to avoid that, right? Is to help people or sailors to avoid that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you need to. I think it would be valuable to practice it, because it's useful for anyone, in fact, even if you're not doing that exam in particular. But the time you are sending a distress call, or maybe the time you are the one listening to that and you don't know what to do, it's good to have practice so that at least you know what you are supposed to do. Because at that moment when you are in the middle of an incident, you don't have the time to think. And much of it comes with practice. So you practice, you think about what could go wrong. And when it does, you're ready and you manage to stay calm. So again, practice is everything. And this simulator wants to be exactly that. So you can listen to a Mayday call. At that point, you get to focus, you get to slow down and note down, because usually you should take a piece of paper and write down what you're listening to. And then again, in the same way, you need to relay it. Use the NATO phonetic alphabet. You need to say coordinates correctly. There is a bunch of pieces of items that are part of the procedure that you need to follow. And then there is another AI listening to it and giving you feedback, validating that whatever you're relaying is correct. There could be nothing worse than relaying a wrong message. If you get coordinates wrong, for example, you get 1 degree wrong, and you could really fuck up a SAR mission.
Another ban from Spotify. You said fuck.
I don't think Spotify is that.
No, they're not as restrictive. No, hopefully not.
But yeah, we
be
careful there.
Sorry.
Yeah, I think that sums it up, right?
Yeah.
So this is the prototype. Well, I just described the prototype.
You showed our cars to our possible competitors. Thank you, Giorgio.
The lone listener. Now he's our competitor. To be honest, we have a head start, because as I said, I did start developing it. So I kind of have the prototype ready. And yeah, we need to do the market research now. Yeah. I think there is something. As I said, I think I showed that a bit around. I think people were excited. People thought it was really useful. Now, of course, we need to study for that exam, so we need to see if we all pass. That would be one way to validate it.
Definitely.
But I also want to talk to some people. Talk to more people who already did that exam, or to other instructors who are delivering the course. There are also what everything I described so far is about, let's say, the amateur license. Professionals who do the ROC and GOC certificates, they have even more stuff to study. They have to renew those certificates. I mean, this is about, people operating, I don't know, cruise ships or tankers or cargo ships. Obviously, they've got a different kind of preparation. And again, it would be valuable for them as well. It's also for them, it's not every day that you issue a Mayday call, luckily. But it's good that if they get the chance to practice. So again, we need to validate that. We need to talk to people, see what they believe is the most valuable part of this, where we should invest more resources on, how to develop it.
So the plan for next week is to stop completely coding and start distributing unit text. And the other half of the week will be to validate this new idea and see that if there is a market. Is that right?
Yes, I think that sums it up. Let's see if we manage to stay away from
coding.
The code.
So I think we are on time already. So I think we can wrap it up. Hopefully my voice or the sound of my voice was much better this week. So the other day I wrote a blog post about how we prepare the podcast, the edition process and everything, the microphones we bought. And by researching about my microphone, I realized that if I get closer to it, because Giorgio has another kind of microphone, right? And he can be anywhere that the microphone will be able to get the sound properly. But mine is not like that. You really need to get close to it. Doesn't mean that it's worse, it's just different. It's for different use cases.
You feel like you're in a different room.
Exactly. So today I decided, or I tried to get closer to the microphone. According to Giorgio, the sound is better. So tell us, guys, if that's the case. Hopefully it is. And yeah, that's it for this week. And we hope to see you or hear you back next week.